Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Sarah Brady, and I work for the Corporation for National and Community Service, and I work here in the Ohio State office. I'm pretty excited to be on the call with all of you this afternoon, as you all are representing a cross-section of America, because a lot of you are serving with NeighborWorks America VISTA project across the country, and some of you are serving right here in the state of Ohio. So regardless of where you sit today, welcome. You are certainly welcome to this program, and we're happy to have you serving with us. What I'm going to do is cover a few housekeeping items, and then we'll dive into the content of the presentation today. We are going to be asking you to place your phones or computers on mute, because at the end of the call, I will be taking the mass group off of mute to ask questions. And when I do so, if you are not on mute, we will hear all of your background noise. Feel free to ask questions through chat for those of you who are on the chat function. And in Skype, we welcome your questions through that forum. We're not going to do polls today. And the reason we're not going to do polls today is it looks like a majority of you who are on this call but not in Skype. So I'm not going to go through and have just a couple of you answer questions through ask questions or answer questions through the online forum, if many of you are not positioned to do so. As far as attendance is concerned, for those of you who are in Skype and able to see the screen and have the chat feature, make sure you type your name and your service site in the chat, as that is how I'm going to be taking attendance for this call. The other way I'll be taking attendance is I'll be providing you all my email address and some instructions on how you're going to email me at the end of the call to indicate your attendance. So keep that in mind. Those are our housekeeping items for the day. This information that I have today typically takes about a half an hour to get through, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. It really just depends on how many questions or how thorough I need to be in various portions of the call. Because we do have a cross-section of participants across the country, I want you to know that we're going to make sure that we are speaking to all of you and giving you instructions, because the instructions will vary based on where you sit with your summer associate assignment. So with that being said, we're going to dive into our agenda. We're going to go through welcome. We'll talk about what VISTA is, so you can be a good champion for the VISTA program in the future. We'll talk about what's next, what you need to do next for your VISTA service, and we'll talk about where you go on your first day of service. So with that being said, I want to welcome all of you to the National Service family. As I tell everybody, you're part of something bigger than just yourself and just your community. You're part of a national service program that is meeting the needs of millions of Americans across the country. And that is in part because you are part of a little less than 500,000 individuals who are serving in national service programs across the country on a daily basis. There are approximately 80,000 AmeriCorps state members serving annually across the country, more than 6,000 AmeriCorps VISTA members, of that about 1,000 summer associates, and as you will see illustrated on the slides, when you look back at the slides, you will see that there are over 360,000 senior corps members serving across the country. And that's what makes up our over 400,000 individuals serving in the VISTA in national service across the country. So this program called VISTA. VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America. You may have gotten here by way of seeing a posting about an opportunity for the summer on your college campus. You may have gotten here by way of being a teacher who has the summer off and was looking for an opportunity over the summer. You may have gotten here because you are retired and you watch your grandchildren or the children in your neighborhood go to school every day hungry and you want to do something about it. Regardless of what brought you here, you're welcome. You are part of this big program that welcomes every cross-section of America to participate, and we're excited to have you. Volunteers in Service to America, as VISTA stands for, is specifically focused on poverty alleviation. And the focus is really to eliminate poverty across the country. And so I want you to know that by doing what you are doing this summer, you may only be impacting one individual. But the bottom line is you're likely going to be changing the lives of that one individual. And for that, your service matters. So traditional VISTA members serve 365 days on a full-time basis, and traditional VISTA members do a lot of fund development, program development. They might be working on expanding various programs. Summer associates are a little different in that summer associates actually supplement the work of VISTA members who are serving full-time. And we want you to know that because the service that you're doing often complements what full-time members are doing or have been doing or setting up. So what I want you to take away from this is that your service matters and is important to your local community. With that being said, I'm going to move on and talk about what the Summer Associate Program is. So what is the Summer Associate Program? The Summer Associate Program is different than traditional VISTA members, and the Summer Associate Program has individuals serving on a full-time basis over the summer and are focused on feeding the hungry, participating in some cases construction projects. Since most of you are NeighborWorks America VISTA projects, you might be working on community development initiatives. And so you're going to be potentially recruiting volunteers, developing community partnerships, etc. And so we want you to understand that all of those activities are going to be direct service related activities primarily, and that service is important to your organization and your local community. What I'm going to do here for a moment is I'm going to pause. I'm going to unmute the call one more time and just do a shout out for Debbie or Sindra to see if they're on the call. So please hold.
Presentation mode is now disabled.
All right, so I just want to do a shout out. Sindra or Debbie, are you available and on the call and want to welcome your folks to the call? Oh, no, they've been texting me trying to get on, so we might check again. So thank you for your patience.
Presentation mode is now enabled.
Thank you for your patience in that process. Debbie Wise and Sindra work for NeighborWorks America, and they wanted to give you all who are serving with NeighborWorks America a hefty welcome to the program. So I will just do that on their behalf. So essentially, the bottom line as it relates to your summer associate position is that your service is going to complement full-time members, and it's really going to service and work with the kids and community members in local communities. What you're seeing here on the screen, if you happen to be dialed into the, or not dialed in, if you happen to be accessing the webinar, what you are seeing on the screen is a picture from a summer associate position from last year. And this is at a summer feeding site in which kids were receiving meals and participating in additional activities outside of their outside of just meals, so more enrichment type activities. So what we're going to do is we're going to now move forward and talk about what it means to be a summer associate. And when I say what does it mean to be a summer associate, I'm really talking about as a summer associate, it's important that you know what is expected of you and what your time commitments are throughout the summer. So when you serve as a summer associate, you're going to be serving 8 to 10 weeks during the summer. So the reason I say 8 to 10 weeks during the summer is that NeighborWorks America members will be serving 8 weeks, while we have some members with the Ohio Association of Free Clinics who will be serving 10 weeks. So you'll need to be working directly with your supervisor to understand exactly how many weeks you are going to be serving during your service term. And so this is an important factor. I know that some of you have commitments that are coming up immediately following your summer associate term. We want to make sure that your summer associate service term is ending in time so that you can get back to school or what have you. So you'll want to talk with your supervisor if you do anticipate your service butting into you needing to be back to school so that we can accommodate that before you are actually sworn into service. You're going to be serving full-time during your service term, and you're going to be serving full-time based on what full-time is at your organization where you're serving. So if full-time is 40 hours a week, and then on top of that, lunch hour every day, that's essentially 45 hours a week, your expectation is that you're going to serve in that full-time capacity. You're also going to follow your agency policies as it relates to dress code, as it relates to interacting with clients, and as it relates to how you deliver services to your clients. You're going to follow your service site agency policies at all times, unless VISTA policies are above and beyond those policies related to your service site. You also should know that what you're doing is truly considered what I would consider admirable, number one, because you are going to be facilitating positive change within your local communities, and that's really important. And it's really helpful to know that we have all of you serving for the good of your communities across the country. And so I just want to thank you for that, because that is part of what it means to be a summer associate. You do get benefits for your service. Now this is where I'm going to hold off and say, for those of you who are serving in Ohio, you're going to be receiving $994 a month for your service. For those of you who are with NeighborWorks America and are serving across the country, your allowance is going to be very different based on your service site location. So what I'm going to do is, I see that Debbie Wise has joined us, so I'm going to unmute her line and have her talk a little bit more about, I want her to have the ability to say hello to you and also talk to you a little bit more about how you can learn about your subsistence allowance and what that looks like for your local communities.
Presentation mode is now disabled.
All right, so Debbie,
Hey,
I see
thanks,
that
Sarah.
you joined us. Thank you. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to say hello.
All right, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. We have Cinder on the line too, so just to let everyone know. I thank you all. I appreciate this opportunity to say hello and to address all of you. I just want to thank you for choosing the NeighborWorks VISTA program to serve with as your summer service. All of your host sites and your supervisors have your living allowance amounts. So if you don't already know what that's going to be, contact your supervisor or the person that you interviewed with and make sure that you get that information from them. If for some reason you're having any difficulties, you could certainly reach out to me, and I'll leave you with my email. My first name is Debbie, and my last name is Wise. So my email is dwise@nw.org. O-R-G. NW stands for NeighborWorks. So it's neighborworksnw.org. But please do reach out to your host site, to your supervisor, and they have all that information, and they will be able to share that with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. So with that being said, it's important for you to know that you do have the support of your supervisor and your sponsor to get additional information related to your subsistence allowance amounts. We also have the pleasure of having Cinder on the line, who happens to be a VISTA leader with NeighborWorks America. And so before I go ahead and put all these lines back on mute, I want to give Sindra the opportunity to also say good afternoon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sindra Kofelt. I am your VISTA leader. But yeah, welcome to summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. Your first point of contact is for the NeighborWorks program VISTAs. Your first point of contact is usually the year-long VISTA that you're paired with, but you can also feel free to reach out to me or Debbie as well. I'll be sending out an email with my email address and everything for your convenience. Thanks and welcome.
All right, thank you, Sindra and Debbie. I apologize for those of you who are on the call and feeling this may be a little disjointed. I know Sindra and Debbie are stepping out of a conference to be on this call, so they have just a limited amount of time, which is why I wanted to accommodate their ability to say hello. So I'm going to go ahead and put the phones back on mute for now, and we'll open up the lines later on during the call for questions and answers. And then we will resume with our presentation.
Presentation mode is now enabled.
All right, so thank you again for bearing with us. So as far as your benefits are concerned, bottom line, Ohio members, $994 a month. NeighborWorks America members, $994 a month or up, depending on where you're serving. Also for your service, you do get an education award in the amount of $1,333 for the entire summer. And you also, or you get a cash stipend, which would be in the amount of up to $170 for the summer. So the average of a cash stipend is about $150 for the summer. You choose one of these two awards, and you get to make that choice up until the first day of your service term. So up until the first day of your service term, you will have the ability to make a decision on whether you want the cash stipend or education award. You can get very significant details on how to use these or apply both of these awards in your VISTA campus. So there are specific pages that walk you through how you can use your education award and what it means to access the education award. So I'll let you do your research, figure out which award is best for you, and know that that is available to you at the end of your service term. So a little bit more about the benefits. As I mentioned, the subsistence allowance is based on your locality, and it is paid bi-weekly, and it's through direct deposit. So that $994 a month, or whatever that amount is for your location, is going to be paid bi-weekly. So you're not going to receive that full amount in every paycheck. It's going to be divided up based on 26 pay periods a year. So you won't want to try and add those two amounts together because they will never come up to your monthly allowance. Plus, federal taxes are withheld. So additionally, they're not going to come out to your allowance amount. The education award can be used for student loans or future education as long as the student loans are federally backed or the future education is at a Title IV institution. And the cash stipend is available in your final allowance check, and it's cash, so you can spend it how you would like. So keep that in mind. These are some of the primary benefits for serving as a summer associate. I want you to know what you can't do while you are serving as a summer associate. And this is important, and it's important especially because the political climate has been a different one this year and last year. With that being said, you cannot participate in political activities during your service term. And that means you can't encourage somebody to believe your political agenda. You can't encourage people to vote for a political candidate. You can't register people to vote. It's important that you know that if you want to participate in political activities, you're doing so outside of your service hours while you are not representing VISTA or your service site. Similarly, some of you might be serving at religious-based organizations, particularly those of you who are in Ohio and are on this call as part of the Ohio group of summer associates. We have a lot of faith-based organizations participating in our summer associate program, and as a result, it's important that you know that you should not be required to pray. If you so choose to pray during prayers at your service site, you are welcome to do so, but you are not allowed to lead prayers. You also can't require any of the participants in your program to participate in any religious instruction. You can't require somebody to follow a specific faith to receive your services. Our program should be all inclusive to everybody. Like I said in the beginning of this call, whatever brought you here to the VISTA program, we know that you belong and you should be here. Similarly, whoever walks in to receive services through the VISTA program belongs and should be there. So keep that in mind, regardless of political or religious affiliation. How are you going to learn exactly what your site expects from you? So as a VISTA member, as a summer associate, as I mentioned, full-time service, 8 to 10 weeks, follow agency policies, follow VISTA policies. So how do you figure out what the policies are for your agency? Well, you're going to follow your service site agency policies, and they are going to be provided to you at minimum at your on-site orientation, and that will be your first couple of days of your service term. You're going to have an on-site orientation in which your site is going to go over your VISTA assignment description with you, talk to you about what is expected of you during your service term. They're going to talk to you about how you complete your VISTA assignment, where you get all the resources you need. They're going to talk to you about dress code. They're going to talk to you about agency policies. I had an interesting question on a call yesterday about mandated reporting. They're going to talk to you if they have any requirements around that type of activity. But the bottom line is, at your on-site orientation, you're going to learn all about your agency policies, learn about all of the resources, and learn about all of the people who can support you during your service term. That on-site orientation is critical for your success, and you should be receiving that in the first couple of days of your service. As a summer associate, it's extremely important for you to know that you do have rights as a member. So let's first start with discrimination and harassment. If at any point you feel as though you're discriminated against or harassed during your service term, that is not tolerated. Similarly, we do not tolerate if VISTA members have discriminated against or harassed any of the staff members at their organization. So with that being said, please note, discrimination and harassment are not tolerated in any way. And so you should let us know if you feel as though you're discriminated against or harassed during your service term. Now, with that being said, and thinking about agency policies, because you do have to follow policies related to your service term, it's important for you to also know that your service site has every right to request your removal from their service site as a VISTA member. So they can say to me, or Debbie Wise, or Sindra, they can say, you know what, this person has been disrupting our service site, hasn't been able to perform the duties, has violated some agency policies, and they can no longer come back to our service site. They can do that, and they can ask you to go home for the day, but only my office can terminate you from the overall VISTA program. If your site requests your removal for whatever reason, we do honor that request because we never want to send you back to an organization that doesn't want you to be there. It could be uncomfortable for everybody. We want to protect everybody involved. But we want you to know that as VISTA members, your site should never be telling you that you are fired, although they can tell you that you should go home based on behavior during your service term. So what is next? What should you be prepared for moving forward? Before you become a summer associate, you're going to have to do a lot of paperwork that is required of you during your service term. Because most of you are only on the phone, I'm not going to go over the demonstration of how you access the information that you need to successfully access all of the online courses. All this information will be provided to you through an email that you get from our VISTA member support unit once you are enrolled in your service event, which most of you have probably gotten already. But what you'll need to do, and what you need to do at least 1 week prior to your start date as a summer associate. So most of you are starting June 12th. With that being said, your paperwork should be done June 5th. If any of you are starting June 5th, which I know some of you are, all of your paperwork should be done May 30th. But you're going to take 2 online courses. One is a Benefits of Service course, which will walk you all through all of the benefits that I mentioned earlier, but in much more detail. So I just gave you the high level. You're going to learn more about how the education award can be applied. You're going to learn more about what the subsistence allowance really looks like. You're going to learn all of those details by taking the benefits course. The terms and conditions course is going to go through the rules and regulations of the program. So it's going to talk to you more about what you can and cannot do as a VISTA member. So it'll talk to you about all of those items that I talked to you about on the previous screen related to religious and political activities, and then go into more detail about some other terms of service. In addition to those 2 online courses, we're going to ask you to complete your online enrollment paperwork, which includes doing a direct deposit form, a W-4 form, and a designation of beneficiary form, all which are within the My AmeriCorps portal. So you're going to complete all of your paperwork online and all of your online in the My AmeriCorps portal. You're going to complete all of your online courses in the VISTA campus. So 2 distinct areas in which you're going to complete your activities. And then you're also going to complete your end of benefit election form, but you're going to do that on site on your first day of service. This is where you're going to determine whether you want the cash stipend or the education award. What you should be watching out for if you haven't already received something like this. You should be looking out for an email from your supervisor that will tell you where you should be on your first day of service, who you should be talking to on your first day of service, any expectations that they have of you leading up to your service term. I ask all supervisors to send something out to their candidates just to give you some familiarity and comfort, so your first day of service, you know where to go confidently, and you know how to get into your service site and get your service started off with the right foot forward. On your first day of service, once you get to your service site, you are going to work on paperwork with your supervisor. You are going to be sworn into service. You are going to be administered the oath. I will be administering the oath to all of you over the phone. Once you do the oath, you are going to sign an oath form along with your end of service benefit election form. You're going to give it to your supervisor, who will then witness the form. Then that paperwork will be emailed right away to your sponsor for collection and submission to my office. We have a 24-hour turnaround time from the moment you are sworn in till the moment we get the paperwork for us to be able to activate you on time and effectively. You're also likely going to have some sort of training from your site. And some cases, this is not true for all projects, but I know for those of you who are with the Ohio Association of Food Banks who might be on the call, you're going to go to an in-person training on your first day of service in Columbus, where all 80 of you will be together to be sworn in. For those of you who are with Ohio CDC, you're going to be sworn in and participate in a conference call with the Ohio CDC Association. And then every project has a little different process on orienting you to their to their project. So you can anticipate hearing a little bit more. Sindra and Debbie were on the call to welcome you and letting you know that they are there if you need assistance. And they are certainly going to be available if you have any questions if you are with NeighborWorks America. On your first day of service, you're also going to be receiving your assignment description for the summer, and you'll also be learning about the various resources that are available to you throughout the summer. So you should expect that once you get to your service site on the first day, that you're going to be ready to learn and be challenged from the start. You should be ready to submit paperwork. You should be ready to You should be ready to submit paperwork. You should have already completed your online paperwork that I had referenced before. And you should be ready to learn about your VISTA assignment description. So essentially, what we're looking for is that by the end of your service term, you will have effectively been sworn into service, given back to your local community, and you will leave the program knowing you have changed lives within your local community. So with that, I've covered all of the information. We do these calls specifically because we want you to have all of the pre-work expectations prior to going to your first day of service. What I'm going to do is, since I know most of you are on the phone, this is going to be a little challenging, but I'm going to unmute the lines. And the first, I'm going to offer Debbie the opportunity to say a few words. And then what we're going to do is we're going to ask for any additional questions that people may have about Summer Associates before we conclude the call. So one moment while I unmute.
Presentation mode is now disabled.
All right, so we are now unmuted. So if you can mute your local phones, that would be great. But I do want to welcome Debbie to offer any words of wisdom or final words before we go into questions and answers. Or Sindra. They may have fallen off the call.
Hi. No, I'm still here. I think Debbie is too. Maybe she's just responding to an email.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't really have any final words of wisdom except it's going to be a really fun summer. And I mean, everyone has an email if they have any questions, and we respond pretty quickly to any email. So feel
Excellent.
free.
Thank you, Sindra. In that case, I'm going to open it up to questions and answers from anybody else who's on the call and would like to ask any additional questions.
Well, hey, this is Lynn Hamilton. I am having a lot of trouble with the benefits class. I can't log in with my email address, even though it's the email address that I know is on record with myAmericorps.gov.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to ask you to call our National Service Hotline, and
Okay.
I'm going to pull up that number for you, and they will help you get through the course. And that's going to, hold on one second. The number for our hotline, if you are having trouble with any of your paperwork or online courses, is 1-800, and my computer timed out. It's 1-800-942-2677. And again, that's 1-800-942-2677.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions out there?
Yes, my name is David, and I'd like to get your email address, Sarah.
Yeah, that's great segue to something else I needed to say. My email address is sbrady, that's S-B-R-A-D-Y, like the Brady Bunch, at cns.gov. And that's C as in Kathy, N as in Nancy, S as in Samantha.gov. And so this is where I'm going to ask everybody to take out a pen and write down my email address, and I'll say it again, because I need you all to email me at my email address. And in the subject line, what I need you to do is put in the subject line Summer Associates. And then in the body of the email, provide your name and the organization you're serving with. And this is how we will take attendance for this call. So again, send me an email at sbrady@cns.gov. In the subject line, type Summer Associates. In the body of the email, type your name and the organization you are serving with.
Is that CSN or CNS?
CNS. CNS.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any additional questions out there? All right.
I'm
Well, if
sorry,
there,
can you repeat
go ahead.
the email one more time? Is it S Brady, Brady?
Yep. At cns.gov.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, if there are no additional questions, I want to thank you all for joining in the call this afternoon and bearing with me as we ended one call and dove into another. I look forward to your emails, and if you have any questions, reach out to to Cindra or Debbie if you're NeighborWorks America, and reach out to your VISTA sponsor if you're with one of the Ohio sponsors. Thank you for joining in the call.